On live.
Oh, we live right now. Hey, folks. Hey, we live on the TD report, bringing it to you right. We got our Midwest guy out here, my man Jody. Jody Coleman, talk to us, man. What's going on out there in the Midwest? Give us an update
Hey,
on the on the playoffs. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry that his team didn't make it. So
but I, but it's the buzz is going crazy for the Cincinnati Bengals in this area right now. The Cincinnati Bengals, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I believe they won 8 games straight to end the season, and along the way, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Along the way, they beat a tough Baltimore Raven team. They beat
mm-hmm.
the Steelers. They beat the Browns. And the reason why the Browns are significant because they hadn't beat the Browns in almost eight meetings. So the Bengals, man, I went out to the stores and out here they got Burrow jerseys everywhere, and they got mugs. The Cincinnati got billboards up. So yeah, the buzz is pretty heavy for the Bengals around this area.
Well, let me give you something so we can go on the history. You're not going to make the Super Bowl, Cincinnati, simply because the team that loses the Super Bowl rarely gets back to the Super Bowl unless you're Tom Brady. So it's kind of like a curse that's been going around for years and years and years. Um, I think they had an outside shot at that number 2. So right now, if it's Buffalo and Cincinnati, do they have to flip a coin?
I think they do. I think they're gonna have to do a coin toss if it comes down to those two guys who gets the home field advantage. I think that's the only right thing you can do that makes sense because of the tragedy of excuse
So
me,
would
last
that be the
year.
second round because they're the 2 and 3 seed?
I think they will be a second round because I think Kansas City will get the bye. I think Kansas City plays the winner, I believe, of the Los Angeles Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is going to be that game right there is going to be a little bit tougher than people anticipate because we got 2 young quarterbacks that have never been in the playoff game, but we do have a Super Bowl winning head coach at the helm in Doug Peterson. So we got a guy that's been there, done that, and we got a guy that still thinks that the NFL should be called on analytics out in Los Angeles with Brandon Staley. So I think that the coaching edge will go to Peterson. I think defensively, I think it goes to the Jacksonville Jaguar. I think offensively, it may go to the Chargers. So that's going to be a better game than people anticipate.
So you're breaking down. So, folks, we're going to just start with the AFC. We have Kansas City with the bye. The number 2 seed is Buffalo Bills.
Right.
Number 3 seed will be Cincinnati Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
4th seed is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right.
5 seed is the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
The
No,
6th,
no.
no, the 5 seed is Los Angeles Chargers.
Chargers, yeah.
6th seed is the Baltimore Ravens. 7th seed is the Miami
Miami
Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Okay, folks, I said those seeds out for you. It may be the only time in playoff history that every team has a homegrown quarterback that's first round. Is that correct?
I think every team in the NFC,
In the AFC right now,
AFC,
in the playoffs, they offer homegrown first round quarterbacks that were starting quarterbacks for their season.
I believe so.
Right?
Because you got to go. Let's go down the list. We got Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes was first round draft pick. He was with the 11th pick overall. Then you got the Buffalo Bills. We had they got Josh Allen with the 7th pick overall. Then you got the 3rd seed, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. They got Joe Burrow with the number 1 pick overall.
Mm-hmm.
The 4th seed, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence was the 1st pick overall. Number 5, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. Joe Burrows was not Joe Burrow. I'm sorry, Justin Herbert was the 6th pick overall, I believe.
Okay.
And then, or it might be 7th because I think, it might be 6 or 7. And then we got the 6th seed, Lamar Jackson was the 32nd pick in the first round. And then you got 7th seed, which was supposed to be Tua Tagovailoa, and he was the first round draft pick. And let's put another note out there. We got out of that draft class, we have Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrows, and Justin Herbert all in the playoffs.
So what does that tell you, folks? It tells you need to grow your own. Well, at least in the AFC, they think that you need to grow your own and you need to kind of have a first-round draft pick. I mean, that's what it says.
Look, and I think also if you want to add to the teams that was close, if you go back and look at Mac Jones, who was close to making the playoffs, he was the first pick of his team. He was close.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh,
you
got Kenny Pickett. He was the first quarterback selected, 20 pick overall.
That's round. 9. Who else was in it?
That was close. I mean, if you want to put the Zach Wilson in there, I don't know if you want to put him as a starter, but Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick overall. So I mean,
that's 10 teams.
Pick. And so actually, let me go ahead and throw this stat out about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson still was 5-4 as a starter.
Okay, so, even though he was trash.
He was trash, but once again, at the end of the day, who has wins or loss by their name? Coaches and quarterbacks. So as bad as Zach Wilson played, he still was 5-4 as a starter.
Okay, and who was after the Jets? Who else did we have?
Then after the Jets, you had Derek Carr, but I think Derek Carr was a second-round pick. Though.
He was home. Yeah, he was second round, but he was.
But he was homegrown. He was homegrown.
And who the other teams? Denver wasn't with Russell Wilson, obviously. Who was the other team that was in there?
Not Tennessee. Not Indianapolis, not Cleveland, and not Denver.
So all the teams who had their talent, their guy was in the playoffs.
Yeah. If you look at it's only about 4 to 5 teams in the AFC that don't have their original quarterback. The Texans had their guy that they drafted in Mills. He didn't get him anywhere, but Davis Mills, he was their guy. He's been a starter for 2 years. He was drafted by that organization. So it is a good possibility if you got the right GM in place and the right coach in place. If you get the right quarterback, they can sustain excellence with that organization, and it's showing in the AFC.
Showing in the AFC. So let's switch over to the NFC. Number 1 seed, that's their guy. He wasn't first round.
No, he was a second-round pick.
Number 2 is definitely their guy, but he was the last guy taken in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, the 49ers.
262.
Yeah, he was Mr. Irrelevant out of Iowa State. A guy that probably should have been a higher draft pick. Now we looking at his skill set, he probably could have been maybe a 4th or 5th round pick, but he was the last quarterback selected out of that draft. But he went to the perfect opportunity with the 49ers because the team, how they're constructed with the weapons that they have. And as long as you don't make mistakes in that offense, you can look very good.
But I'm about to get you right here, Jody.
Okay.
The number 3 team is there because they took the number 8 to 9 team's quarterback. If Kirk Cousins is with the Washington football team, the Washington football team will be in the playoffs right now.
I mean, that's it. Looking at hindsight, it does make sense because if we really look at it, the Washington Commanders, I do apologize out there, Commander fans. They have really been looking for a quarterback, a franchise guy. Even though they won a Super Bowl with Mark Rippon, they've really been looking for a franchise guy as far back as Joe Theismann.
It's a long damn time.
Now, we got RG3, unfortunate injuries. He was about to be the guy, but injuries are a part of NFL football. So him getting injured and what it could have, should have is, but when we talk about quarterback in a long history of not really having great quarterbacks, they always want to throw the Browns up there, but the Redskins are right with them.
But you know what the difference was? Joe Gibbs was such an exceptional coach that he could take 3 different quarterbacks and win the Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks. That shows me.
Actually, 4. Think about it. He won with, remember, because Jay Schrader and Doug Williams kind of split time that year.
Yeah, they did. They did.
And then you got Rippon, and then you got Theismann, right?
Yeah, Theismann. But
so
Schrader got to the bench by the time that playoff run had, and that was all Doug Williams doing.
I get it, but remember, Doug Williams got hurt in that second quarter before he went on that tear throwing all those touchdown passes. Remember, he went down. Remember, he slid on the back.
But he never missed no plays.
No, but I'm just saying
he missed one play. I think
he did because Jay Schrader had to come in and take a snap.
Yeah, he missed like 1 or 2 plays. But
so technically, Jay Schrader played. People don't like that, but Jay Schrader played, and Jay Schrader played a large chunk of that season too. He played a lot of games.
Yeah, he did. He did. But that shows you And then so we went to number 3, number 4 team in the NFC.
Number 4 team in the NFC was not so Minnesota was 3. Number 4
Tampa.
was
Tampa.
who?
How did we forget the GOAT?
It's easy to forget the GOAT when you go into the playoffs 8-9. You backed into the playoffs. That was maybe the worst division in NFL history. 8-9. You win the division at 8-9.
We won it at the Redskins won it at 7-9.
That's bad too. At least, at the very least, when the year that they were the Redskins, I think, or was
no,
they
was the Washington football team then.
They were the football team when they went. I think that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
2 years ago, yep.
At least at the last week of the season, we didn't know who was going to win. At least it was a competitive match. Remember, it was between Dallas. I think Philly was involved. Only one wasn't involved was the Giants. So at the last two or 3 weeks of the season, we didn't know who was going to be the division champ. This one, even though they're 8-9, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wrapped that division up 2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, in the game that they won. So number 5 is Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott. Number 6, Daniel Jones with the Giants. And the last team is Seattle. Yeah, and they not homegrown. So it's 4 teams in NFC, all the teams in the AFC.
Right.
So when you're doing the math, that is how many teams in the playoffs? 14?
14.
So that's like 11 out of 14?
Right. And not to mention, you got 8 of them are first rounders.
That's pretty damn good.
And shit, if you add that, you got Jalen Hurts was a second rounder.
That's pretty good. That's pretty. But it shows you the difference on conference on how they built the teams.
But the formulas, I believe, this is just me. I've always been a true believer that you're going to find your quarterback 9 times out of 10, 80 to 90% is going to be in the first round. If you go back, if you look at the history from Terry Bradshaw being the first pick to Troy Aikman, that's 7 Super Bowls from the 2 number 1 picks of their generation, right? Peyton Manning won 2 championships, first round pick overall. He won 2 championships. Joe Flacco, championship, first rounder. I mean, the list goes on. Eli Manning, first rounder, 2 championships. Ben Roethlisberger, 2 championships, first rounder. Do you start understanding what we're saying? Now you got an anonymous, the Tom Brady. I can't even get out what he is. Tom Brady is he's what we call in statistics as an outlier. Right, like that's not going to be.
He's an outlier.
How many 6-round quarterbacks have won that many Super Bowls? Nobody.
Well, if you go back, you gotta go way back to Bart Starr and all that back in the day.
No,
but,
I mean you're gonna go back to them, but they haven't won 6, 7.
No,
so Phil Simms was a first round draft pick and he won a Super Bowl. So I'm just saying if you want to,
Bart Starr won 5.
Who?
Bart Starr won 5 titles.
Okay, stop. I'm gonna stop you right there, Tony. Because if you're gonna say that, then why my Browns don't get our 8 championships in? Why we gonna add his and we
y'all
gonna
was
add
in the AAFL. Y'all was in Little League. They're not gonna give y'all no championship.
So you go hold on. So basically he won before the Super Bowl era, correct? He won 3 before the Super Bowl.
But that was the NFL.
It doesn't
y'all
matter.
Was the AAFL, whatever they wanted to call that crap. Y'all wasn't playing against the real people.
So Jim Brown's stats don't matter, do it?
Well, his stats matter once they went over to the NFL.
We won championships. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about those 50s championships when Jim Brown when he was the biggest and the only dude there.
So now because he's the biggest and only dude there, now we're gonna punish him for being the biggest and only dude there. That
you don't give Babe Ruth all his titles.
Yes, I do.
I don't.
Babe Ruth, I mean, the stat book says it. Did he do it when the Negro League was around? No, he didn't. But you can't take away guys' accomplishments because y'all didn't have the people that y'all want in there. We can't take it. So if you're going to give Bart Starr his championship, you got to give Jim Brown and the Cleveland Browns theirs.
When we go to the Hall of Fame, do they recognize their championships in there?
Yes.
Okay, then it's good. I thought you were saying they didn't.
You can't. Then you wouldn't be able to recognize Otto Brown. You wouldn't be able to recognize Jim Brown, Motley.
Maryland Motley.
You can't take away and say what you want to. Oh, I'm gonna put these guys in the NFL Hall of Fame, but I'm not gonna give them their championships.
Hey man, I'm with you on that. I'm always. But we speaking of the GOAT,
right?
Okay, so let's break down some of these matchups. Okay. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl that's played a week from tonight. We're not going to talk about that game because, that game, the NFL was waiting on that game. And that's why the referees were cheating us. So we had to go play the Tampa.
Y'all was going to play them anyway, Tony. Y'all was the Cowboys were going to play the Buccaneers no matter what. If y'all had won or lost or tied, y'all were already set to play the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I know that, but they started coming a month ago. And with the games and stuff like that, they got what they want. So we're gonna break down. Let's break down the Ravens versus your Bengals.
So if we want to go back to the AFC, I think the Bengals are going to really give the Ravens, even with Lamar Jackson in the lineup, won't be able to beat the Bengals. The Bengals right now are the hottest team. Joe Burrow is cool, calm, and collective. Jamar Chase is healthy. Mixon is healthy. The defense is actually playing lights out. We don't really get a defense enough credit for the Bengals, and they're starting to play like they did down the stretch last season. And what I'm more impressed with is their secondary, the much maligned secondary that everybody talked about. Eli Apple couldn't cover anybody. Eli Apple was down the last 6 or 7 games, has been one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL.
Okay, so you would take Cincinnati over Baltimore?
Yes, even if Lamar plays, I still would take the Bengals over Lamar because
That's
Lamar
a
hasn't played
matchup. Okay, 3-6 matchup is another matchup of division foes, right? It's Buffalo
and Miami. I hate to say it, Buffalo is going to wear them out without Tua in the lineup, and Buffalo is not going to be freezing cold up there, but it's not going to be Miami weather. If you got Teddy Two Gloves at the quarterback, I just don't think you can win a football game with Teddy Two Gloves. I think the defense is up the middle where they were really strong with Wilkins had him up the middle, and I thought he was having a Pro Bowl season, but people are blowing the Miami Dolphins off the ball in their running game. All that innovative offense that they had with the RPOs and stuff like that going downfield to Tyreek Hill and Waddle. You don't see any of those explosive plays, and you're definitely not going to see those explosive plays with Tua out of the lineup. And please don't listen to me. NFL, are you listening? Please, Roger Goodell, this is your time to shine. Do not let Tua Tagovailoa touch the NFL field ever again. Do you understand? Do not let that man career. Look, I understand he wants to get out there, and I understand doctors are clearing. Do not ever clear Tua Tagovailoa ever again. Do not clear him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Just a side note. So we were talking about Buffalo. Mr. Hamlin came home today. That's a great sign. He came home today. He's on his way home. Prayers. Always praying for that man right there. What he did to kind of bring everyone together, which was, and just so you know, the first kickoff of the game, the first time they had live action, Buffalo took it all the way back, 96 yards. And they said something about 3 years and 3 months. I mean, that number 3 was just showing up everywhere. I mean, it was just, it was just a surreal moment sitting there watching that and watching that guy run up and down. Then he took back another kickoff back.
Right.
And that, that was just, that was hard. Like one of the players said, that was a hard week and it was a tough week on them to try to get ready for a game. And you have a brother that was falling. That was just a tough week.
I want to say this. I want to say that the NFL showed a lot of unity, a lot of and I want to kind of sidetrack just a moment. If we're going to show this type of unity for that young man, and we should, can we please, everybody listening, put your hands together in prayer for Peyton Hillis, the former Brown, the former Giant, the former Bronco. He had got into a diving accident, a swimming accident, And he's fighting for his life right now. So as much as we come together for that young man Hamlin, let's come together for Peyton Hillis, please. And if anybody out there, can you please send up prayer for Peyton Hillis?
Yes, we put that on our site early today. Put it on there yesterday. Prayers for him. It's unfortunate what happened, but he did save 2 lives, which is a good thing. Moving on, we have a 2. That was the 2-7 matchup.
Right.
We did the 3-6 matchup. Now let's get to the matchup of what I think of the whole first round for them is their 4-5 matchup kind of mirror each other to me. Quarterbacks highly touted, coaching suspect 1 year here. Some think the guy in charge is really kind of not right. The Chargers versus the Jaguars. Talk to me.
I like the Jaguars at home, man, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I truly believe when the Jaguars beat the Los Angeles Chargers, we got to think about replacing the head coach in San Diego, because you're gonna get there with all the talent. I think everybody pretty much is back. Joey Bosa is back. You got Mike Williams, who they played yesterday, and he had X-rays on his back. So now the Los Angeles Chargers coaching staff is under fire for playing those guys in a kind of like a meaningless game. The game that they was already set in that position, because at the time the Ravens had already lost their game. They had already lost their game, so they knew they was going to be set in that position. There wasn't going up or down, and you still played your starters for no reason.
It's hard. It's a rhythm thing.
I get it.
Hard. It's hard when you prepare, and it's a rhythm thing. It's hard to just disrupt that. I mean, you could injure people that way too by not having them prepared. If you prepared to play, it's very difficult in football to just. It's not basketball. We just pull out and be like, oh well, I mean, we're doing load management. I disagree with you on that game, only because I'm biased because that was my Super Bowl pick. My Super Bowl pick were the Chargers. I stayed with them, even when they were doing terrible this year. I will always tell you, Chargers are going to be all right. They started getting healthy at the right time. They seem like they're always in every game. For some reason, they do just enough to be right there with you. And where that spills over is in playoff games.
Right.
Playoff games, when you're on the road, first quarter or something, everybody hype and the fans, blah, blah. It gets hype. Then all of a sudden, can you stick there? When it starts to get real tight, can you stay with that team? And the Chargers, for some reason, remind me of the Bengals and what they did last year in the playoffs. Now, you think it's the Jaguars this year.
Yeah.
No. The Chargers, because I think those guys in the Chargers, for talent, they probably, man for man, got as much talent as number 1 seed.
But see, this is the reason why I disagree with that, is because just like the Bengals of last year, the Bengals had home field in a lot of their games. They played their first game against the Raiders at home the same way Jacksonville has it. But we got to understand, whoever wins this game, whether it be Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert, they'll be getting their first playoff win or their first playoff loss. So, I really, for your sake or for the Chargers' sake, they want to have Herbert win, because guess what? If he doesn't win, and they already called him a social media quarterback, now he got to last a whole another year with a loss on his playoff. See, Trevor Lawrence is playing with house money. Trevor Lawrence ain't even supposed to be there. So if he loses and you got a Super Bowl head coach, they know they're going to be back, because, they get Calvin Ridley back next year. That's what people don't understand. They got a number 1 receiver sitting on the bench that they traded for. So they're not going to do nothing but get better. ETN, and mark my word, ETN will be a top 5 running back next year. He's already close to it now.
Okay.
And mark my word, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a top 5 quarterback. I think he's a top 5 quarterback right now. I'll take him slightly over Justin Herbert right now. Slightly.
Trevor Lawrence is top 5 quarterback.
Yeah.
When
Look at his number. No, in the NFL. Look at his numbers. You name the quarterback, I'll tell you. Only quarterbacks I will not take over Trevor Lawrence as of right now is, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Of course, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Those are only quarterbacks I would take over Trevor Lawrence at this point of the season.
I'd take Deshaun Watson over him right now.
Not at this point of the season. Now, when next year comes around, Deshaun Watson is going to be a top 10 quarterback once he gets the playbook. And he looked very rusty, and you can tell that he hadn't played football in 2 years. So I'm really not going to – listen, Cleveland don't deserve to be on this show today, Tony. And I'm a Cleveland fan. They don't deserve to be discussed. They don't no disrespect. They don't – if you can't win a game, you can't beat the Jets up 13. You can't beat the Chargers. We're not talking about the Browns.
We're not talking about the Browns because we're talking about playoff teams today.
Yeah, so we ain't talking about the Browns. Browns don't deserve to be talked about today, sir.
So we covered the AFC matchup. NFC matchup.
Let's go.
2 versus 7. San Francisco is playing the Russell Wilson-less Seahawks with Geno Smith. Who would have ever predict? I look back, I didn't see nobody putting Seattle on playoff. Matter of fact, I saw people putting Seattle as a top 5 pick from this season's record.
And they got a top 5. They got a top 5 pick, but it wasn't because of them. They got a top 5 pick because of the Broncos.
Because of the Broncos.
But I like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and I said it, and I'm gonna say it again. I want to, if Geno, if you listen to this, I deeply apologize for what I said about you. I thought Seattle would be the number 1 pick in the draft. I thought that they were that bad. So I want to give my hats off to Geno Smith. I want to take my hat off to Pete Carroll. That guy showed you that he can still coach his game. I want to take my hat off that. Also, Geno Smith broke the single season passing record for the Seattle. He had over 4,200 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, and only 11 interceptions, and he made his first Pro Bowl. So, but with all that being said, the 49ers are going to completely destroy them, even though it's going to be harder than what we think because it's going to be the 3rd matchup. And what you say, Tony, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, right? Hard to beat a team
them 3 times.
And these teams are familiar with one another, but I got the 49ers by 10.
Okay, so the 3-6 matchup is a repeat. Every game is a repeat that's been played already. Right. 3-6 matchup is a matchup from like 3 weeks ago when the Giants are playing the Vikings.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
I like Minnesota, but the only thing scared me in that game is the inconsistency of Minnesota. Because when Minnesota win, they win. And it's always you never know. They've been down by 33 points and won. They beat a Buffalo Bill team, that's one of the highly touted teams, but then they also got their back beat in by the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cowboys just got beat by 20 yesterday. So it's like, what team is going to show up for Minnesota? Or is O'Connell going to have those guys ready to play? And I really think they will have them ready to play. I think they're going to lean heavily on Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook need to touch the ball at least 25 times, whether it be in the running pass, about 20 rushes, 5 catches. And Justin Jefferson going to have to show that he's the best wide receiver in the league. I like Minnesota in that game.
I am biased, even though they hate us. I'm going with the G-Men because it's NFC East ball. I think the NFC East probably going to have 3 of the 4 in it.
So you picking a road team?
Oh, I'm picking the road team.
Okay.
I'm picking the road team. I don't.
They traveling to Minnesota. We got to understand, Minnesota plays very well in that dome.
You mean the Minnesota that lost 40-3 to Dallas?
But they went. But you got to think. I believe they went 6-2 at home.
Okay. The G-Men almost beat them.
Almost is only in hand grenades and horseshoes.
Okay. But guess what? This must be both because they get a chance to get them right back again in the same place. And I'm telling you right now, the G-Men.
But Tony, we got to understand with Minnesota defense, who is been picked on the first 3 quarters, actually going into the 4th quarter, but they always tend to make a play at the end of the game. You go and look back. You look at the Patrick Peterson interception that he had against Buffalo. You look at the Harrison Harrison Smith interception that he got a couple weeks like early on in the season. It seemed like though that defense always seemed to make a play towards the end of the game, and I think that's what's going to get them over. I think Daniel Jones playing in his first playoff game. Coach Dalbeau is going to be in his first playoff game. I just think it's just going to be too much. I think that they're going to send a lot of pressure at Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley going to try to do all he can, but I just think Minnesota is going to be a little bit too much for him.
Okay. Then a week from tonight, we got 4 versus 5. In this corner, we have the GOAT, 7-time Super Bowl winner. And folks, that number 7 is also the amount of times he's beaten the Dallas Cowboys without a loss. He's 7-0 versus Dallas. Something got to give here, folks. We haven't won. Dallas have lost their last 7 road playoff games. And he's 7-0 versus Dallas. Does it keep going? Are we going to be 0-8 since Troy Aikman? Or are the Dallas Cowboys going to come and finally beat the GOAT? Talk to me, Jody.
You ready for this? Strap on your chin strap because I'm about to go in. Tom Brady, and I told you this. I'm not betting against Tom Brady. I've lost a lot of money betting against Tom Brady, unless it was against Eli Manning. What we're not paying attention to is Mike Evans had 2 good games towards the end of the season when he struggled for about 5 to 7 weeks. Mike Evans looking like he's Mike Evans again. Let me give you a stat. Mike Evans has 8,000-yard season to start his career. That's elite company to have that many 1,000-yard seasons. We'll throw that out there. On the other side, we got Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin had over close to 100 catches this year. The running game is going to be really, really what is going to make him go. And that's going to be, is Leonard Fournette going to have a cheeseburger in his hand or a football? I need to know which one he's going to have in his hand because he been having a lot of cheeseburgers and cupcakes this season, and he needs to be able to tote that football. He needs to be able to tote it well and get it at least average about 4 to 5 yards per carry. The defense has struggled down the stretch, but let's flip it over because I'm gonna do a little bit because I want you to really go in on this too. If you look at the Cowboys, Dak Prescott has thrown an interception for a touchdown in how many games this year?
Probably like 3 or 4.
So
Jaguars, Redskins, another game. I think it's 3.
So Eagles.
Yeah, that's 3 that we know of. That's 3.
And he hadn't played all. He missed 5 games this year. So that means he only played in 12. So out of them 12 games, he got at least 4 interceptions ran back for touchdowns. Anyway, I say that to say this. They got to lean on the running game. I think that's going to be the only way they can win. But one thing, the strength of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is stopping the run. So with all that being said, I like Tampa Bay in this. I like Tampa Bay. Tom Brady got 35 playoff wins, and Dak Prescott got 1. I'm going Tom Brady until Tom Brady retires. I got Tom Brady at home. Tampa Bay moves to the next round, even though they're 8-9 and back into the playoffs. I just think the experience is going to beat the Cowboys.
You already know where I'm going.
I want to hear it, though. I want to hear why.
Well, at some time, you do. I just think that here's the thing. Dallas laid an egg yesterday. But nobody's actually giving Washington credit for starting a rookie and really playing hard and playing like it's their Super Bowl. And they couldn't match the intensity. Now, I said this like I said to you in production. Back in 85, when the Lakers did it and they kept the starters in and they got blown out and everybody's like, oh, the series is over. Folks, we've seen this movie before. I'm going to tell you when we saw this movie. 9-9-22. When Tampa Bay beat Dallas, Dak hurt his hand. Our season was over. everybody said, our season's over. We lost to Tampa. We were playing the Super Bowl runner-ups with Joe Burrow was coming right into the house the next week. They had no thing. Then they had to finish that game and play the other Super Bowl dudes in the Rams. So Dallas had 2 games at home. Then they had to go on the road to a Super Bowl winner. It was, now when you look at it, Dallas started the season with 4 playoff teams. Tampa, Cincinnati, Rams, Giants.
Mm-hmm.
They came out 3-1, folks. After going on 1. They came out 3-1. I think sometimes when you're telling the kids something, blah, 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 they don't hear you. But sometimes when they actually put their hand on that stove and it actually really burned them, and they're like, man, I need to listen. I think Mike McCarthy got their attention yesterday. I think that performance was so bad, the entire nation is counting them out. And you know and I know, a desperate team with good talent can do work in this because, folks, whether you believe it or not, these playoffs, it's a brand new ball game. That's why they call them playoffs. If we had to do it, the 2 number 1 seeds of last year, Green Bay, Tennessee, did not make it.
Did not make it.
Okay.
But let me ask you this. And I know you don't want to think like this, but let's say the Dallas Cowboys drop this game. What is the future for Mike McCarthy?
Gone.
So a guy that has 24 regular season wins in 2 seasons, he's going to be out.
What was the key? What was the key words in that sentence? Those sentences, that phrase, regular season.
So, but
0 in the playoffs.
So if he loses, he would only be 0-2 in the playoffs. It wouldn't be like he has a 0-8 record in the playoffs.
0-2. Listen, dog. Unlike y'all Redskin fans that be on here, unlike the rest of these fans that be on here, this and that, we don't accept that when you got this. When you wear this, our level's different, dog. We on some different stuff. We got titles hanging up, and when you got titles.
But Tony, you can't do that because you're rid of McCarthy, and what you think y'all gonna get Sean Payton?
I know we get Sean Payton.
But if you get Sean Payton, he want to bring his own crew in, so that means you had to get rid of Quinn.
Well, they work that out.
No, he already got his roster together. He got the coach that used to coach for the Broncos as his defensive coordinator.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
So you would rather Dan Quinn, who a very mediocre defense, into one of the top 5 defenses in the league. If you lose him, that means you're going to take a step back. He knows how to use Micah Parsons. He knows how to use Crawford. He knows how to use Trayvon Diggs.
Well, if he knows how to use them, he need to get us some playoff wins.
Who? Daniel Quinn? He's not the head coach. If you go back last year to see them losing against the 49ers, the defense played lights out. It was the offense.
No, they didn't. Debo was running up and down the field on them.
They only how many points San Francisco have last year?
21, I think.
21. So if your offense can't produce 22 points, your defense, listen, that's if you are a Super Bowl team and your defense can only give up 21 or 20 points a game, and your offense can't get, your offense let them down. Stop it. The offense let them down. Because in this NFL, this passing league, you should be able to score at least 25 to 28 points a game. And if your defense can hold them to 21 and y'all can't win, that's not the defense fault. That's not Dan Quinn's fault. That's offensive coordinator Kellen as Murray. What's his name? Miller. What's his name?
We win as a team, we lose as a team, and they got to go because I'm tired of it.
So you okay if Mike McCarthy gets fired and Dan Quinn goes with him? Is that what you're saying? You're not saying that. You don't want to say that because how do we know Sean Payton is going to come in and be a Super Bowl winning coach? Because guess what? Mark McCarthy got as many Super Bowls as Sean Payton.
How many championships he got? AFC appearances, playoff wins, all that stuff.
What does that matter if you don't win the big dog? You don't win the trophy. Both of them got one trophy.
Can he fix our quarterback? He fixed Jameis Winston.
Why Jameis Winston ain't starting for nobody right now?
Well, that's their coaching bad. That's why they're not in the playoffs. That's on them. He got hurt. We don't know if Jameis Winston's back. But last year when Jameis Winston was in there, they was 5-2.
That's 7 games. That's 7 games. So you telling me he fixed them and he only played 7 games? Is that what you said?
That Jameis Winston's last year in 21 looked much different than the Jameis Winston in 19 and 20.
Yeah, because he had eye surgery. People don't even realize he had eye surgery.
And he also had a quarterback coach who understood the position.
But my thing is that going to make Dak Prescott not throw pick sixes and get a game away?
Man, you act like Dak is throwing games out there.
He did. He lost the game against Jacksonville because he threw an interception.
Now, you know damn well that interception.
Listen, I know what you about to say. You're going to say, well, he should have caught the ball. He should have. But whose stats did that go on, Tony? Whose stats did that go on?
Okay.
No.
Whose stat it went on. Whose fault was it?
It doesn't matter. When they look at interceptions and interceptions ran back, they're not going to say, oh, that was Noah Brown's fault.
You watched the game.
I
Who
know.
did go under?
But that's not how the stats go, Tony.
I understand that. Dog, we don't accept that with Dallas. We need to be. Now, if McCarthy gets to the NFC Championship, he probably come back. But we got to see some improvement over last year. Last year, we won the division. This year, we didn't even win a division.
Y'all missed it by a game.
2.
And that's because y'all still won 12 games, right? 12-5.
That's
right?
not good enough. That's not good enough for us. We got standards, dog.
Man, standards my ass. Y'all ain't won nothing since 97. I was a senior in high school.
We still got standards.
What standards?
Winning.
Win! Tony, no, I'm not no. What standards, Tony? What standards? Y'all got subpar play at quarterback. Y'all done won 2 playoff games in like 15 seasons. 2. 3, because Tony Romo won 2. So y'all done had Tony Romo and Dak Prescott, y'all last 2 quarterbacks, right? And y'all got 3 playoff wins. Standards?
Yeah.
Standards? You know how many? Hold on, Tony. You know how many playoff wins Dak Prescott got? He got as many as Baker Mayfield.
Hey, man, this is his year. Or you got to trade that. Something. Somebody want him. We got to do something. We cannot sit here. We're not the Washington football team. We're not going to sit here and keep going 7 wins and 7-9 and 8-8 and all that. That's not who we are.
I get it. And they're playing mediocre football. And we talked about in production that Ron Rivera has not had a winning season in 5 seasons.
Yeah, he hasn't had one since 2017, but he keeps a job.
And 8-1. He didn't even know, Tony, he didn't even know after he lost to the Browns that he was eliminated. Come on. Isn't that reminiscent of Donovan McNabb not knowing the overtime rules?
Yeah, it is, but the coach's job is to know all that. The player's job is to play and just win. So let's get to these coaches fired. Just briefly, what do you got? Who got fired? Who's where?
Well, the one that I'm gonna get to that one last, but Cliff Kingsbury just lost his job in Arizona. The Arizona GM stepped down. So it's a vacancy in Arizona. We already know it's a vacancy in Denver. I think it's going to be a vacancy in Indianapolis. I don't think they're going to bring Jeff Saturday back. They potentially could be a vacancy in Carolina with Wilkes. I think he did a great job, but I think they're going to explore their options at the coaching position. We all know that it's a vacancy in Houston. And that's the one I want to talk about a little bit if we could.
Let's go. Hit me on Houston, buddy.
The Houston Texans is a cesspool of an organization. Now, we talk about over and over about black coaches in the NFL, qualified black coaches. I'm not just talking about a guy that you just pulled off. We're talking about qualified. Let me go ahead. Let me give you some numbers real quick. Lovie Smith, as a head coach, is 81-63 as a head coach.
Wow.
When he was in Chicago, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I do apologize. He was 86 and he was 81 and 63 with Chicago and 3-3 in the playoffs. He took a Tampa Bay job that was basically a lame duck job, and he did go 8-24 over the course of 2 seasons. Okay. Y'all gave him an opportunity, and then he took 1 season with the Texans. He was 3-13-1, right? Every year that he coached in the NFL, which was 11, 12 years he coached in the NFL, his best quarterback was Rex Grossman.
Wow.
His best, and he took Rex Grossman to the Super Bowl. He went 13-3 with Rex Grossman.
That alone right there should be able to keep your job.
Now, let's talk about what happened this season. Lovie Smith, it's like they put him in the position to say, hey, we gave a black coach the opportunity. Ha ha. We gave you the worst opportunity in football. You gave him Davis Mills, who was an unproven quarterback. Then you take Davis Mills receivers away. Brandon Cooks, you deactivated him for no reason. Y'all say y'all was going to trade him at the trade deadline and didn't trade him. He wasn't injured. He was scratched. He was a healthy scratch. Your best receiver on the team. Your top running back goes out for the last two games of the season, the stud Pearson out of Florida. Mm-hmm. Defensively, on paper, and people that know the game said that front seven was one of the worst front sevens in NFL history. So on the back end, your number 1 draft pick, Darryl Stingley, was in and out the lineup with injuries. All that being said, and you know that's what's going on, and they still played the Kansas City Chiefs, who was the number 1 seed in the AFC, and took them to overtime. They played the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys down to the wire. A Cleveland Brown team that was at the time was in the playoff contention. Cleveland beat them 27-13, but they did not have an offensive touchdown. They had a punt and 2 defensive touchdowns. And Houston having a backup quarterback for 3 games. And you're going to fire Lovie Smith, a African-American coach, a qualified coach who got fired from the Chicago Bears, having a 10-6 record. How many black coaches have been fired after having winning records?
Lovie.
Caldwell.
Matter
of fact, Caldwell had the last 10 double-digit win season for Detroit.
Brian Flores got fired.
He got fired. So we're letting qualified black head coaches walk out the door with winning records. Now, how many of their counterparts can have losing records or average records and never be threatened for their head coaching positions?
I guess
we just talked about Rivera. He's a minority, but we just talked about Rivera not having a double-digit. Matter of fact, he has not had more than 8 wins in 5 seasons. We go to Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski, with all that talent, has back-to-back. One season he had 8 wins. This season he had 7. You have numerous number 1 picks on that team, from Myles Garrett to Denzel Ward. You got Pro Bowlers in Nick Chubb. You got Pro Bowl wide receivers in Amari Cooper. You got an excellent offensive line, and you have won 15 games in 2 seasons. But These guys, Tony, these guys still have jobs. These guys still have jobs. They haven't even fired Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday went 1-7 as a coach.
They act like when they got him that was going to change everything around. Hell, it went worse with him than they did with the guy before.
Right, Frank Wright. Then we go to the Raiders. The Raiders, who had Carr. They got Devontae Adams. I know they had a lot of injuries.
NFL
Josh McDaniels won 6 games after having a playoff team. They were a playoff team last year, Tony.
Yeah, and they had the NFL leading rusher.
But he still got a job. Come on, man. Talk to me. Now you get a McVay. All of a sudden, they make all these bad decisions in Los Angeles, and now all of a sudden he's sick.
That's what I was telling Dad. I don't want to hear that. That's Urban 2.0. Don't hit me with sick when we lose. You weren't sick when you were winning.
this is what made you sick. You went and gave all those draft picks up for Jalen Ramsey. You went and gave all them draft picks up for Matthew Stafford. You went and overpaid for Aaron Donald, who don't seem like he want to play football anymore. He told you he was contemplating retirement, and you went and made him the highest paid defensive player in the league. Yeah. How many games did he miss this year? If Aaron Donald really wanted to get to the Super Bowl again, he would have played. And I'm not ever going to, he's one of the top 10 defensive players of all time. But he was already contemplating retirement. Yeah. You let Von Miller walk. You don't resign Odell Beckham Jr. You depended on Cooper Kupp is over 30 years old. I love Cooper Kupp, but he done sustained 2 knee injuries in the last 4 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I think he had an ankle injury this year, but he sustained 2 season-ending injuries 2 times out of 4 years. So what? They can't run the ball. They can't find a running back. They keep trying to do running back by committee. Matter of fact, they cut Henderson towards the end of the season.
Yep.
So, yeah, you don't have a draft pick for 4 seasons. A number 1 draft pick. And I don't think you even got that many second-round draft picks if that's what you had to give up to get Von Miller, who is not even on your roster. Yeah, that would make me sick too, Tony. I would have every sickness I can think of. He's one of the youngest coaches in the league. Now we're talking about stress. Yeah, it's very stressful. I love McVay. I think he's very innovative. But this is what's going to happen. And I'm not saying he's not sick because that'll be insensitive of me to say that he's not sick. But let me tell you what's going to happen. He's going to sit out a year, maybe 2. He's going to go into the broadcast booth. He's going to come back and he's going to be the one of the most sought-after head coaches, a la Sean Payton. He stepped down. Didn't Sean Payton quit when Drew Brees couldn't play football no more?
Yeah, he wasn't quitting when Drew was there.
Isn't it ironic how guys get sick and want to step down when they franchise quarterback can't play football anymore?
That's all I tell people how it is.
Let's go back to my guy in Tampa Bay. What's my guy in Tampa Bay to step down?
Oh, my man from Virginia Tech.
Let's talk. He stepped down when he thought Tom Brady was going to retire. He stepped down. Come on, man. It's awfully ironic how these coaches all of a sudden want to step down. I want more time. I need to spend more time with my family. And guess what? You knew you had to spend time with your family when the season started. When you're an NFL player, you know what the sacrifice is. Come on, man. You play in the NFL. You know the sacrifice is going to be the family. But it seems like it's only sacrificing the family when y'all start losing.
You got that right. Hey, just to update you, 7-0 Georgia.
It's going to be a blowout.
I told you, I said earlier, I don't think it's going to be close. I never liked TCU. I didn't think TCU deserved to be there. They beat Michigan, so they shut me up on that. I'm hoping they shut me up tonight on this one. But looking at TCU and how they won all year and who they won against, it's not even going to be close.
Listen, TCU beat Michigan because Michigan's Super Bowl was against Ohio State. They had nothing left on the tank. They were satisfied.
And the quarterback threw 2 interceptions for a touchdown and threw another one away at the goal line when he fumbled.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Jim Harbaugh was satisfied with knocking Ohio State off. They had 2 bad showings in back-to-back playoff games last year against Georgia and this year against TCU after beating Ohio State. They got satisfied. They got satisfied with them winning those games, and that was enough for them. Because I can really see John Harbaugh is already getting offers from NFL teams already. Again, remember he was going to take the Minnesota job last year.
Yes, he was.
And I can, with all these vacancies coming about, Arizona and Houston and Denver being available, Indianapolis, where he was a first-round pick for the Indianapolis Colts. So I can see them looking to make a move, and I think some other shoes are going to drop in the playoff. Like I said, I'm still waiting on the Dallas job to see with Mike McCarthy. Even that's insane that if you let that guy go, but I can see Dallas making a decision. They've done it before. They let Jason Garrett go, but Jason Garrett was kind of mediocre at the time, so I can see that.
I hope you wasn't saying keep Jason Garrett.
No, I'm just saying that y'all will let a coach go in a minute, and yeah.
So
And I think it's gonna be now. You got the Ram job available. Only job. I mean, it's a lot of. I don't know what job is that appealing, but I can see Jim Harbaugh knowing that he doesn't want to lose. He don't want to go out losing Ohio State, so I think he want to go while the getting is good. Because
you act like, hey, after all those years of losing Ohio State, he finally beat them twice. So
that's what I'm saying. He better leave. This is going to be the best opportunity for him to sign a real big payday in the NFL. Like I said, with Indianapolis coming open, the Texans coming open, and let's think about it. In Indianapolis and the Texans, if they can get quality players in there, that division is up for grabs. Even though because Jacksonville only won it at 9-8. It wasn't like, even though I think they're going to go and at least win one playoff game, they still won it at 9-8. And Tennessee is not. Tennessee may be done for a while.
Yeah, but they got good coaching, and good coaching always keep you in it.
Yeah, but when you ain't got unless Malik Willis can take that step, they didn't believe enough in Malik Willis to even play him in those games. They went with Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, if they went with Dobbs, then Malik Willis must be he must be struggling.
He is, but he is a rookie and he doesn't have any weapons to throw to. We talked about that many times on the TD report. That if you get a Stephon Diggs to Josh Allen and saying Amari Cooper for remember when he was with Dak Prescott, made Dak Prescott a better quarterback. When you get those elite receivers, that makes you a better quarterback. He doesn't have that elite receiver. Trey Burks is going to be good, but I think he's maybe a year or two away from being good. So, and Derrick Henry can't keep toting the ball 25 times a game like this.
No, sir. He lost that good backup in Foreman, who was a good backup for him. I think Foreman went to
Carolina,
yeah.
He balling. He was balling for Carolina too.
Foreman was good. Foreman was good when he was with Tennessee.
Yeah.
So folks, this TD report, we're taking you in on the Georgia game. We gave you kind of the preview for the NFL playoffs. We've been going Monday and Thursday. We'll probably go like that 1 or 2 more weeks just to get you guys ready, get you ready for the games that's going to be on Saturday. Remember, the games are Saturday, Sunday,
and Monday.
And Monday night the Super Bowl. Of all playoff games. When I first saw the schedule, I already knew what was going to be Monday night game. I just know how they think. If your team ain't playing at 8:15, NFL really don't care about you, dog. They don't think you're a draw. They don't think it's worth their time. My team plays at 8:15, you see, and I'm going to always be faithful to my star.
My team is at home. They right next to me on the couch. But can I go back to this Georgia game real quick?
Yeah, go on back.
The Georgia game right now, because it's on, it just looks like the talent gap. It looked like Georgia got a lot of 5 stars, and TCU gonna show you why they only got, Georgia tonight is gonna show you why they was picked 7th. They're gonna show you why they was picked 7th in the Big 12. Be preseason they was picked 7th. Last year they went 5-7. And the first couple years for Max Duggan as a starter, he was I believe he had a losing record as a starter. So they had a very emotional game against a Michigan team that it looked like they was not prepared in that championship game. They're going to play against a focused Georgia team because they were 1 field goal away from not playing in this game. They were 1 field goal away because Ohio State gave them everything they can handle. And I remember saying on the TD report, I said there was only 2 teams in the country that possibly could beat Georgia, and that was Ohio State and Alabama.
Yeah, look, man, I don't think, like I said, I never thought
fumble. Georgia just recovered a fumble. TCU tried to do it in and around. Georgia recovered the fumble. It's about to get ugly.
Yeah,
it's about to get real ugly.
Hey, folks, if you got women and children at home, please turn the TV off because this one right here is about to get out of hand, folks. It's really about to get out of hand. And
Tony, do you remember a couple years ago when Georgia played against Hawaii and it was just a massacre? That's what I think. That's what's about to happen tonight. Georgia's about to do them how they did Hawaii when Hawaii got in that bowl game and got beat like 48-10, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even that close. It wasn't even that close. And they're playing like right now, like I said, Georgia's playing very emotional football. They got all they can handle from Georgia from Ohio State, and it's about to get real ugly because Georgia's about. I think they're gonna go. They're gonna right now. I can see them taking a shot deep.
You think so?
No,
See,
they
you
went with
ahead
it.
of me.
No, they went with an end and around to the tight end to Bauer. Bauer made the biggest play of the college football playoffs when he got that 4th and 6. When he got that 4th and 6, that was the biggest play of college football against Ohio State. Um, that was a huge play. So, like I said, Georgia is Georgia, man. They stat, but you know what's going to be interesting for next season? Out of the top 6 teams, 5 of them will be losing their quarterbacks.
Yeah, it really is going to be interesting next year because of we were looking at the quarterbacks that were in the playoffs. The Dugan kid, the Bennett kid here, Michigan, and who was the other team?
What are you talking about? CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud. Then you looked at the next one with Alabama's quarterback. We tend to think those are going to be the first 2 quarterbacks off the board. Hell, they might be gone in the first 4 picks.
Right. I think they will. I think they will be.
But remember, Caleb Williams, the May kid from Carolina next year. The other kid from Tennessee didn't go in the draft, did he?
Yeah, he's done. You talking about
he got to go in the draft?
He's actually 24 years old.
Hendon Hooker?
Yeah.
Well, that don't mean nothing. How old was Winky? 27?
No, Winky was, I believe, 29.
Winky was 28, 29 when he beat my boys in the championship. Man, I hear that crap.
No, I'm just saying that I don't think he's coming back for another year at Tennessee. That's what I'm trying to say.
They got one dude that played 9 years now.
Right, but he had a lot of medical rare service.
I mean, shit, he was damn living in the damn thing. He was there so long, his kid was in 2nd grade.
You know who?
I mean, I don't know if he had a kid, but he was there long enough to have a kid in 2nd grade.
But you do know that the only quarterback out of the top teams is Michigan. JJ McCarthy. Is it McCarthy? He's coming back.
I wouldn't be afraid of no McCarthy, dog.
But your boy Blake Coruns, the running back, is coming back too.
Good move. He had a surgery.
I don't think so. I think he's making a bad decision by coming back.
I kind of did too, but spoke to some people. It was a good move for what he needed based upon where he is right now. And running back is tricky, man. It's a tricky position. You have a certain amount of hits you get to take. You have a certain amount that you're going to go here. And by them lessening the position, which was a terrible narrative because every team needs them. Every quarterback needs them. But, it's such a position that a high volume of hits that it's hard to pay a guy a lot of money when you can just replace him with the next guy. That's the business part of the position. Unfortunate, but that's what it is.
But see,
you stopped them, so it's 10-0.
But the reason why I say, in my opinion, is exactly what you said, but I'm using it in the counter. I think that it's a bad move because I'd rather him get to the NFL and take those hits in the NFL while he's getting paid rather than stay at Michigan where he's going to split carries. I don't think he's going to have another season like that because of the kid they got behind him. They got to get him the ball. The guy that broke the 2 runs open against Ohio State. I can't remember his name off top. Donovan. What's his name? Donovan.
I forget. Number 7. Edwards.
Yeah, number 7.
Yeah. Oh, Joe, do you really from us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think that he's not going to have the same season. Right now, I got him at the 3rd running back off the board, and I think he might even.
Who you have in front of him? B. John.
I had the kid from Alabama. I think the running back from Alabama is very versatile. I think he'll be the guy that he has the speed and he can catch out the backfield. And I think he was the guy that I would have took over him.
Okay. And the B. John.
The Robertson kid out of Texas. So those are two guys I would have had over him, and I think he could have creeped up to number 2 because he can catch out the backfield. So, that's why I think he would have been a second or third round pick. And I think if he goes back to school, he's still going to be in the same spot, second or third. He may even fall a little bit further because he might get lost in the sauce because of he's not going to have the same season he had last year. I don't think he's going to have that. And if he's trying to not get hit, unless he just want to come back and try to win a national championship, I don't know.
Yeah, some people actually love college, and some people just love the experience of it and playing it, and and sometimes with his injury that he had could be one of the things. What you guys don't know is when you go see those pro doctors, when they got that little chart of everything that you hurt, man, they pull every damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they pull and pry, and he may not be NFL healthy for that. So that may have been one of the reasons could have forced his hand.
Maybe
you
so.
never know.
Maybe so. I wish the
You
young
never
man
know.
the best of luck. He's an explosive player, very good player for the Michigan Wolverines. He can break a game open. So I thought he should have went pro because I don't think he's gonna get any higher. I think he stands to lose a little bit of ground if he stays. That's just my opinion because he's gonna be splitting carries, so his numbers are gonna go down a little bit.
Yeah, but when you work hard like that and you don't think that your stuff is ready, obviously he don't get hurt. He probably wins the Heisman.
Right? Yeah, because they were undefeated in the regular season,
and they had a huge game against Ohio State. So
yeah, if he would have performed like the backup performed in that game, that would have been him. Yeah, it'd have been hands down. He would have won the Heisman easy. But
so
I got to get ready to roll, man. It was a great show, man.
Great show, man. Nice talking to you. Thank you. We're probably back Thursday, folks. So we can lead you in. Who you got winning tonight by how many points?
I got Georgia. They about to at least beat them by at least 21.
Okay. I got Georgia by 14.
All right, we'll see.
All right, folks.
All right, peace.
See you. Thank you. See you. And to your Redskin fans, forget you. Y'all been haters. Don't hate.